So now we're still on the realtors or real estate agent follies. This is the third part, so I guess it's going to be one page. Good thing I'm breaking these up because they're way too long. But we'll get going. I'll kick right back into it again. When in the last version or last episode, we were talking about I wasn't going to pay him 6% and take that out of my 60. He could take his 6% out of the top. So he swore me to secrecy and said, you can't ever tell anybody this. So I guess this is probably a spoiler alert. You shouldn't know this. He said, I'll cut my commission down to blah, 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 blah. And he said, you'll end up getting $59,997.50. So I'm off by $2.50 on a $50,000 or $60,000 deal. I said, well, I want to be a real prick about it, so I'll go ahead and give you the $2.50. So that's how we ended up selling that house. And I think it was a folly on his part. He came and said, what do I have to do to get you to sell your house? So I go back inside and try to say, well, did you finally run him off? And I said, no, he finally bought the place. She said, where are we going to live? You know, we've got a kid. We know that. I said, I don't know. And she said, well, I've got to go to the store. Why don't you drive me up to the store and I'm going to get some milk and applesauce or whatever it was. So go up to the store and it's like Ray's Super Y Market anyway, which was, bigger than a tienda, but not very big. So I get up there, trying to shopping, and I look over at the bulletin board and they had 3x5 index cards. Half of you guys will probably have to look them up on Google to find out what they were. But little index cards, and it's posted up there. It says, home for sale by owner. Call first, and here's the phone number. Okay. This town was so small, normally you'd have a 7-digit phone number and you'd have a 3-digit area code in front of it. Well, everybody just forgot about the area code because everybody in town was the same area code. And even though the prefix of the town had 3 digits in it, it was a 5-pull town. You only had to dial the last 5 digits and the switch knew that you were staying in town. So that's how small the town was. And so anyway, I pulled this index card off the bulletin board, put the thumbtack back. I didn't want to steal the thumbtack. So put the thumbtack back and go out and tell Joanna, come on, let's get your stuff. We got to take a drive. So we drive up to the address is on the card. We drive up to where the address is, and I look over, and it's a 1946 house built for returning GIs, and it was way on the front of a piece of property, and the property went all the way to the alleyway in the back, and it was fairly wide. There was a lot of land there, and this little rectangular house was on it. And we only had one child at the time, so one for us, one for him. I said, there's a lot of possibilities there. We could build this, we could change that, we could, okay. So I drove around to the alley side, and there's old Mr. Stamey over there. I said, hey, Mr. Stamey. He's, hi, Steve. And I said, can I use your phone for a minute? Sure. He said, where are you calling? I said, I just got to call the lady who lives next door to you. He said, well, just go over and knock on her door. I said, no, it says call first, so I'm going to call first. So I call her, and she finally answers the phone, rang several times. And I said, yeah, I saw you got your house for sale, and call first. She said, where are you? And I said, next door. She said, why don't you just knock on the door? I said, it said call first. I don't know what to tell you. So she said, okay, come on, you better come on over now, because tomorrow morning I'm getting up early and I'm leaving. My sister and I are moving out of town. Her husband had died a week or months or something. Her husband had recently died, and she and her sister were going to get a place and move to Medford or wherever it was. I said, okay. So we went and looked at the place. I said, I'll be back. So go back home, drop Joanna off and Matthew off. That's well and good. And I said, well, I'll go up and talk to her. And Joanna said, okay. So she go up, and I said, what do you want for the house? She said, $15,500. I said, well, not much of a house. I don't think it demands $15,500. She said, what do you give me? And I said, well, 10. And she said, oh, no, you got to have at least 11. I said, $10.50. So another 30 minutes. I said, okay, John will come get you tomorrow morning. You have to leave. You're going to have to leave one day later. So you can leave later in the day. So she and Joanna go in and go to a escrow place, and papers are signed, and somebody calls the county and says, yeah, it was in her name, and the husband's been marked as deceased, and it's clear title. So checks were written, and Anyway, promissory notes, whatever. So we had a house for not very much money. And I thought, here we go again, another year of work trying to get this thing in shape. So as soon as she was literally gone the next morning, I called up some friends of Joanna's, and the gal's husband and his buddy were actually pretty good craftsmen, carpenters. And I said, bring your transit and come on up. So he comes back up and we opened up the kitchen window, and I said, from this kitchen floor, shoot with your transit out in the backyard. There's going to be an L back on there with a master bedroom suite. And oh, so grand plans. So he looks through that, drives some stakes, does some calculations, says, that's fine. I said, you guys want to build this thing? Yeah. I said, how much? A couple $1,000s. I said, okay. And you got to straighten the roof on this one because it's got sag in it. So this guy said, yeah, when do you want to start? And I said, well, as soon as we can. So every door in the place and every window in the place, I either replaced, remodeled, rehabbed, whatever. This guy showed up. They went out and dug the foundation out. Had a buddy there show up with a backhoe, dug the foundation out, put the foundation in. I came home, drink beer. Watch these two guys. One's left-handed, one's right-handed. Boy, I tell you what, you get to a corner, and one of them, they just switch places. Whoever was left-handed went over to the left-hand side, and right-handed went to the right-hand side. And they built a very nice master bedroom suite. Not a walk-in closet, but a bifold door, great big, whole wall was closet. So Joanna was happy. And had a bathroom, shower, the whole thing. Got that all done, and so that went for quite a while. And then finally I got an opportunity to move down to San Francisco. And I said, I'm not going to live in San Francisco, so you have to move the office out in the burbs somewhere. So they came back about a month later, so we decided to move the office out into Concord. And I said, just because of me? And he said, no, it just is where it is. So they moved the office, and the company had a policy that said, we'll pay duplicate costs. So whatever it's costing you in whichever place is higher, we'll do it. So we came down and lived in rentals and moved and did all that horse manure stuff. And this policy was only good for 6 months. So when it got to the end of 6 months, then they turned it over to a real estate relocation service. I'm going to call them real estate agents as well. They finally said, okay, it hasn't sold at 6 months, so we'll change you to the executive level, and we just buy the house and come by and pick up a check, and we're on our way. So that was another one. And just as the end of this one comes around, there's got to be a closure for it. A guy from the HR department comes running down to my office one day and said, Steve, your house burned down. I said, oh my God, did Joanna and the kids all right? I'll take off and go get them. Oh no, he said, your house up in Oregon. I said, oh shit, buddy, I don't own a house up in Oregon. You and a relocation company do. You bought it from me 2 weeks ago. And they had, one of the real estate agents, there you go again, one of the real estate agents had taken somebody out there, and they said, well, it's kind of cold and feels damp in here, because I'd turned the furnace down to almost nothing. So our company had a gas department, natural gas. So the real estate agent called the natural gas guy, service guy, and said, go out there and warm that house up, because I'm going to take them back out there tomorrow morning. It's got to be nice and toasty warm there. So with his instructions from the real estate agent, he went out there, got his matches out, and lit the furnace. Went over to the thermostat, turned it up to 85 degrees. So that furnace was never going to get the house to 85 degrees. It's the winter time. But it was going to be on for a while. And sure enough, the vent tube, or the chimney, if you would, for that furnace, over the months of being idle, had come unglued, unhinged, and dropped off to one side on the ground underneath the house. So now the furnace is blowing through a pipe this big around, right against the bottom of the house. So he did this deed at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And by 8:30 that evening, the house was on fire, and the fire department came out and saved the foundation. So there's the next issue of the follies of the real estate agent.